Yo, what's up guys, Kevin here. In this video, I've got 5 simple tips for setting up your snowboard for the very first time. As a new snowboarder, there's a lot to learn, so I think these 5 easy tips will help you get your board set up ahead of your first day of riding and just really set you up to have the best day possible. Let's just jump right into it. The first tip is how you place your bindings on your snowboard. So if you don't know which one your front foot is, you want to have a centered stance, which means that you have the same amount of nose as you do tail. So with your bindings completely centered, you're going to be able to choose on the day of snowboarding whether you want to be a goofy rider with your right foot first or a regular rider with your left foot first. And by having that center stance, it just allows you to do that. If you already know which one is your front foot, then you want to set up a directional stance. And that means with a directional stance, your back foot is going to be much closer to the tail of your board and your front foot is going to be further back from the nose. With a small tail, your turns are going to come around much smoother and easier. The second tip is setting up your binding angles. Again, for a centered stance, my preferred angle setup is to have +15 in the front binding and -15 at the back binding. With that +15 in the front and -15 in the back, it's gonna give you that ducked out stance, making it easy to bend your knees for learning the basics of sliding on your heels and toes, but it's also gonna give you the flexibility to decide if you wanna be a goofy or regular rider. If you know which one your front foot is, then you want to set up that directional stance. And I think the best angles for a directional stance is +18 in the front and -9 in the back. With this directional setup, it's going to allow your front knee to do more steering with that bigger angle in the front. And then your back foot is on less of an angle so that you can just continue in that forward direction. The third tip is to figure out how wide your bindings should be apart. Sort of a general rule is that your bindings should be a little bit wider than your shoulder width, or if you take your arm and make a fist, from the front of your fist to the back of your elbow is basically how wide your bindings should be. That's a general way to do it, but it's a good idea to put your feet into your bindings at home, see if it's that comfortable width, and if it's too wide or too narrow, then you can just make that adjustment. The fourth tip is to adjust your high backs. So the high backs on your snowboard is what you lean against when doing your heel sliding and heel turns. And it's actually crucial that you adjust your high backs before going to the mountain. So naturally, your high backs are set to an angle of 0. So with 0, your high back is gonna be pretty straight up and down. And this doesn't give you much support for doing your heel turns and stops. So what I suggest is that you set your high backs more forward. If the angles range from 1 to 6, you can set it at about a 4 out of 6 forward. And with this more forward angle, it's gonna give you something to push on for your heel sliding and heel turns, and it's just gonna make your board so much more responsive and really set you up for success on your heel stops and heel turns. The final tip is to adjust the straps on your bindings. So when you first take your bindings out of the box, the straps are gonna be set to just the generic setup, and they're not yet small enough or large enough for your boot size. So it's a good idea to put your boot into your binding and make sure that you can comfortably do up your bindings and get them very tight. If your bindings are too small and you can't actually get them over your boot, then you just need to make them a little bigger. And if you feel like you can't get your bindings tight enough, then you may actually have to adjust them so they're smaller. So by doing these small adjustments at home, it's just gonna save you from having to do it on the mountain. Amazing, so I hope those 5 tips will help you on your first day setting up your snowboard. If you have any questions, hit me up down in the comments. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe here to Snowboard Pro Camp. There's more tip videos coming every week, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, guys, and have fun out there snowboarding.